So then again with the meditation session, starting with some minutes of meditation on the breath, and then to meditate on the text and around the subject that we've been focusing on, especially yesterday. Just exploring a little bit on the way of seeing whether those people we have difficulty with and their behaviour, whether it is inherently existing, and also ourselves, whether we inherently exist. So then, in a posture that's conducive for feeling comfortable, but at the same time, a posture which is conducive for the mind being alert. And then just to try to motivate well, to keep the mind focused during this first part of the meditation. Because if we're able to do this, keep our mind in the present moment, we're best placed to be able to engage in the second part of the meditation and to create a conducive mental state for receiving the teaching today and for engaging in the discussion and tutorial session. So then, as best as possible, to try to keep the mind focused on the breath, and as the distractions arise, to note these and neither get swept away by them nor try to suppress them, just to note them, aware of their arisal, and make it our business, make it our responsibility to bring the mind back to the breath. So here, with diligence and with gentleness, to keep the mind focused on the breath. So I continued like this for the first few minutes of the session. So then, the main body of the meditation is about increasing our wisdom understanding according to the Buddhist tradition. And if we look over our life and the education we've received through secondary education and tertiary education and other courses that we may have attended, in which we gained levels of understanding and knowledge. But if we look into this and along those lines of those different traditions of learning through the mainstream education department, that those levels of education may actually have led to more levels of attachment mind and arrogance mind, pride, jealous mind, anger mind. And led us in the direction of more unhappiness and more remote from how things exist, from the actual reality of how phenomena exist. So we received much education, but with that education and that information, it's not necessarily that we're any wiser or more compassionate as a result of that. And in fact, we may have gone the other way, become less wise and less compassionate on the basis of that education and learning. So here we have this wonderful opportunity and the teachings of Buddhism, Bodhisattva's way of life. And here the 6th chapter, the chapter on patience, and exploring within that, deepening our understanding of how things exist and questioning whether the appearances to us, how things exist, how they appear to us as existing inherently and independently, if this is in fact the way that things exist. So just think here, just in general, how it is that throughout this life, we're going to be interacting with people who cause us problems. Either they may be deliberately trying to harm us, or it may be just simply their behavior, how they conduct themselves, what they say and do troubles our mind. Either case, the other person appears to be the source of our unhappiness. And then also us, as the recipient of this, experience ourselves as an independent entity, me, I. Person full of pride, how dare they say that about me? Or alternatively, why didn't they consider me? How about me? How about my situation? But we can see in both those cases how much problem we experience in this life as a result of seeing the other person as somehow inherently, independently existing person who's a troublemaker, and then seeing ourselves, on the other hand, as this permanent, independent, unitary being who's being harmed. So in relation to the other beings, or other being or beings as we see them throughout this life, it's going to be plural, different incidents. In fact, as Geshe was saying, people are constantly emanating out. So they, from one point of view, they emanate out into this life. As a result of their karma and afflictions, they take rebirth to particular parents. It's due to their karma that they take rebirth in that situation. And they emanate out into the world in that basis, that physical body that they've received from their parents. And then they emanate out throughout this life as a result of the ripening of karma and affliction. So it's always radiating out from that being, emanating out conduct as a result of karma ripening. So they themselves don't understand this either. And in fact, as they do things, how we appear to them in a particular way, and they believe that appearance. So if we appear in a particular way that they don't like, that appears to their mind without choice. And then because they don't have wisdom, they believe that, and they manifest out in different ways to cause us problems, either intentionally or unintentionally. And so this is the case even in the case of a group of people who causes problems. Each of those individuals has their own specific karma, which obliges them individually to see things in a particular way. And then under those circumstances, in a sense, because of the power of that karma, compel them to act in ways which might be hurtful to us. So they're not inherently bad people. They're victims of their own karma. So for us to get angry with them, it's a bit like if someone attacks us with a stick. We wouldn't get angry with the stick because we'd understand that the person has seized hold of the stick and is attacking us. So it's similar here, that the affliction, the ignorance and attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, whatever it is, has seized hold of that person, intoxicated that person, and then obliged that person almost powerlessly to attack us, compelled that person to hurt us with their speech or with their physical action. And so it is with people in our lives as well who we find difficulty with. They've got certain personality characteristics which seem to be inherently existing, but in fact, these are emanating out as a result of their karma that obliges them to see things in a particular way and to act in particular ways. So this person should not be the object of our anger, but rather an object of our understanding and kindness and forgiveness and compassion. And then from our own side, we who are the recipient of these harsh words or conduct or just to have the experience of this difficult person in our life, where does this inherently existing I exist? Because it's got to do with me. They said this about me. I won. Or they did this terrible thing to me. So when we recall to mind those events, they come back to our mind, can appear so very vividly. It's a very vivid sense of I, they hurt me. They said that offensive about me. Or it could be a series of events over years that we come to believe I am like this, I'm not helpful, I'm not capable, I'm not successful, or I'm hopeless, or whatever. But where does this I, me, exist that's being hurt? And when we use that word, it's I or me, it's a unitary, it's a one thing, I. It may differ. From one time we may think we're the best in the world, other times we feel the worst. That way they're different, but they're the same from the point of view of being this permanent, independent, unitary, one thing, self, I, at that time. So given our whole life is really focused around me and my possessions and my family, my country, or whatever, to identify ourselves, our actions are done so much on the basis of an assumption of this as an appearance and a belief in the appearance, as an appearance of an independently existing I, appearing that way, otherwise we wouldn't get upset. And a belief in it as well. Then surely it makes sense to explore, given that this is a focal point of the life, to explore, to see if this I actually exists in the way it appears. And can you find it anywhere within the physical body? This I that's upset, me. Can you see it, find it anywhere within the head or main part of the body or the arms or the legs? And it may appear like it's the sum total of all of that, me, almost like, as I say, smeared over. It's a whole meanness is smeared over that basis. That I is smeared over the whole total of those parts. But again, if we look, we can't find it. And if we say it's the sum of all these parts of the physical basis, that physical basis is a transitory collection. Transitory, and it's changing from moment to moment. Collection because it's a collection of parts. But this I is a one thing. It's I that gets upset. So it can't be found in that physical basis. And then if we look into the mind, can you find I existing anywhere? And if you believe that the I is somehow the brain, as neurologists haven't been able to find it. They find many things in the brain, but they haven't been able to find the I if you believe it's a physical entity. And if you believe it's the mind, which part? This one thought arises after another. Emotions come, abide, pass away. And again, if we say that the I is the mind, sum total of that is the essential me. The mind is a transitory collection. Transitory, changing from moment to moment. Collection of different mental phenomena. So when we explore into this body and mind, we can't find this I anywhere. And yet it also doesn't, if it doesn't exist there, it doesn't exist separate from the body and the mind either, because that would be absurd. We could be here physically and I would be somewhere else. So this is what it really is. We say there's an appearance of an permanently existing independent I and a belief in it. And this has been existing since the beginning of this time. just because there's an appearance and a belief doesn't mean to say it exists. So then the more that we're able to understand this, the more that we're able to weaken the dominance in our life of this sense, this intuitive sense of an independently existing I. Each time we meditated on it, and if we're able to lessen it, then the less we're going to be tormented in our interactions, our destructive interactions with others. So then, just in conclusion then, to dedicate whatever positive results, especially from the two things of seeing how others really are emanating, their conduct emanates out as a result of their karma and afflictions. They don't exist independently. The behavior does not exist independently. And also we don't exist independently. So there isn't this inherently existing enemy or inherently existing me. And so from the basic of that understanding, we dedicate towards deepening our wisdom understanding to counteract, to eradicate ignorance, grasping at inherent existence, and then also to cultivate the mind of loving kindness and compassion, understanding in relation to others and also ourselves. Okay, so thank you.